victory, raise their trophies up for the world to see.
I think it's a cool backpack.
Katabin and Samuel Watson both get off to a good start, but it's Kermel Katabin leading the way at the moment. Samuel just hesitates, and Kermel stops the clock at 5.51. John, unlucky for straight away.
Yeah, I mean, the first race out is usually it's a really hard position to be in if you're at the 16th spot racing the first place person, because they're the fastest out of qualifiers, and you know that you usually have to just give it your all in order to have a chance, and so that can sometimes lead to some mistakes. It looks like Sam just had a little bit of a dry fire in the middle of the wall, but the athletes are pretty similar. Ludovico tends to go much faster than he usually does in training and competitions, and so this will be really cool to see.
Yeah, saving it for this moment in the spotlight. The crowd dropping into silence. The athletes focused. Ludovico ahead at the moment as we reach the halfway stance, but it's very, very close. It looks like it could be Ludovico, and it is. All the way through there, he was just fractionally ahead. Sparsla, part of Team Indonesia, who have such a presence here in South Korea.
Yeah, they really do, and he's still holding it down for him. 5.71 is nothing to joke about.
Well, this is it. We look at the time. You think, oh, they've lost. It can't have been that fast, and then you notice the time, and you realise that really it's at the highest level.
Yeah, the level that the sport has come to just in the past couple of years with the inclusion in the Olympics has been pretty incredible. It's gotten much, much faster.
So, next race, Frédéric Leonardo versus Pierre Rebriand from France. This could be another close fight here. Frédéric has had that world record previously until today for such a long time.
Until yesterday, yeah, he said that it's at the Salt Lake City World Cup last year, which is coming up here soon, so I'm sure he'll be hungry to have that back.
And he might be able to have it back this evening, let's see. Although it won't count, of course, it is a race with the other competitor. Right, we pause. And they're off to a fast start. Yeah, though, big slip and a fall. Frédéric just needs to keep it together, not fall off, and he does get it done. Frédéric Leonardo will move on in this competition. So a little slip from Pierre down low.
Down low, yeah. So the Tomoa skip, which is the sequence that a lot of these athletes are using for the very first move, requires a smear on the wall that really can be hit or miss, if just depending on the texture of the wall, the conditions of the competition, whether it's inside or outside, and it can be a little bit low percentage, but yeah, you can see that he just could get any opposition on that.
As John mentioned there are different ways of doing this speedball, especially at the start. So the Tomoa method was worked out by Tomoa, and he worked out sort of a very dynamic version of doing it, but it can be tricky to pull off, as we've seen.
Yeah, it's a very difficult move, so you got to get it really, really dialed just so that you can have it consistent no matter what the conditions are, because the style of competition doesn't care about how humid it is or how slippery the wall is, so you got to have it dialed.
A risky strategy, it does sometimes work out, but I've actually tried that move myself before. It's such a big dyno. It doesn't look it on your screens, but trust me, it's a long way. So Lee Singwest, South Korean athlete, in front of his home crowd. 5.76 is his PB. Alfian's 5.6.
It's cool to see the Koreans here in the final at their home World Cup.
Yeah, I expect some noise from the crowd here. He's off to a good start in front of his home crowd. Stefan's coming back. Is it going to be sick? It is! The South Korean athlete, Lee Singbum, will go forward to the next round. The crowd certainly appreciating that here in the stadium.
He is psyched about that. That's quite an upset too. These Indonesian athletes all of them are pretty much the favorite. Really incredible what they've done with their speed climbing program over there.
Look at that, South Korean athlete, explosive up the wall. It's all releasing, and all the emotions come in a wave.
It's just instant gratification every time.
That's Rahmat Mulyono versus Rahajeti Samsat from Indonesia. Let's see if these two teammates, what they'll do, and it's always hard racing a teammate, you know their strengths and weaknesses. Oh, and both with big slips. That was some
Who would
drama.
have thought they'd planned that? Oh,
And another
at the
big
same
slip.
time again.
Finally, Mohammed stops the clock.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much to talk about with that one. Both that slip.
Oh yeah, so that Tomoa skip, that move is really low percentage, and wow, they have exactly the same data and they slipped in beating. I would just chalk it up to a little bit of a coincidence, but I mean, you can feel sitting in the booth here, it is a little bit humid, so I'm sure they're feeling that as well.
Our final race here for the men. Is he now happening on the left? Young on the right from South Korea. Can another South Korean athlete make it through to the next round? Slipping.
Missed the foot.
Zeno will easily make it up. Can't fall, and he doesn't. 0.06 for him
Until now, so it's cool for them to be showing off right now because they've got some really talented athletes in all of the disciplines.
Absolutely. The facility is confirmation. Any simple you, John?
I'm gonna have to take a closer look. I'm not sure. Other than just the excitement of watching the races themselves, like
We had all of them running around in the front, which was it's Team Spain watching on. So the first two women out on stage, Alexandra Miroslav leads in this final. Lisson on the right, Alexandra on the left. Both off to a good start, but Alexandra starts to pull ahead now. Hesitation, but Lisson is coming back at her, but Alexandra looks like it's all her. 7.33.
Good for her. Even after this slip, you could tell in the change in body language that she really knew she had to keep going in order to win. Yeah, for sure. And for a favorite athlete like that, I think a lot of the time the first race is kind of the hardest and the one where you really feel the most amount of pressure.
So Nora Ikwan versus Jimin Jong. Stage now. She was in the isolation earlier, looking very relaxed. She seems to have kept that relaxation.
It's really cool to see how different athletes approach these competitions mentally and their body language. Some athletes try to hype themselves up quite a lot, and some other athletes are really relaxed. You can tell.
Jimin is ahead at the moment. Stays ahead, makes the jump, slaps the pad.
Another upset.
Jimin in front of her home crowd. Perhaps gave her the edge in the last seconds of that fight, of that run.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, Jimin. Yeah, Nural there. You can see hesitating there, a little hesitation and a slip. And another slip at the top, actually.
Yeah, a little bit harder for this move. There's always like the little what ifs that make the difference, and those are the moments that haunt you for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine she'll be lying in bed thinking of that later on. So Alexandra Kluchka versus Aurélie Sarisson from France. Alexandra, one of two sisters competing here tonight from Poland. And it's neck and neck at the moment. Looks like
Really
on 7. She will move on.
I almost looked at the wall like it was a little bit more epic, honestly. Yeah, almost like looking at a 50-meter swimming pool.
Yeah, that's what it's about. And when you look up at that wall, you know that Olympic athletes have been up it. It's a pretty intense experience. So Dezak versus Nuria. Dezak Brockfield on the right. Sorry, on the Nuria Brookfeld on the right, Dezak on the left. Nuria gets a very good start.
Dezak will be the favorite, having had a faster qualifying, but she's got to execute. It looks like that slip allowed Nuria to take it.
Yeah, but very lightweight harness there, you can see attached.
Yeah, first competition, but I think that's also just the nature of speed climbing, you know, which is what makes it so rewarding when it does go well and you are the favorite and you do execute, but there's so much potential for things to go wrong for everybody comfortable doing with your climbing style and your body type.
So it's Rajia Salsabila versus Alvini Verkadija. Another Indonesian athlete competing. 2 Indonesian athletes competing. Some speedy athletes out there. So they turn to face the wall, matching that first hold, left foot on that starting pad. Rajia slightly behind at this stage, but now she's coming back on the left-hand side of your screen, pulling ahead now, half a body length, goes up, 7.47 from Rajia. Good score from her. So, whether gold, silver and bronze will be decided.
You can tell, yeah, even though they use the same sequence, they generate power a little bit differently, so even though they're on the same team, they just have different climbing styles, and you can see how that serves them each in that race.
And how are those climbing styles developed? Does a coach look at you and go, look, they're going to be beat that? Tell her more of a celebration next time, right?
It's like she's still climbing.
Yeah. So we return to the men's competition. Kermal Katabin on the left, Guillaume Moreau on the right. Katabin chalking up his hands, getting ready.
Kermal will be the favorite, breaking the world record earlier, but again, he's got to execute. Move on.
Exactly. Doesn't matter how fast you are if you fall off. Kermal, though, at the moment is ahead. Really ahead. He's a long way ahead. Wow. 5.26. I mean, that's close to the previous world record.
That is close to the previous world record.
So Kermal,
with their training and their climbing tonight.
Yeah, they're perhaps not quite as on it. Just a little more staccato with the way they climb. He just flowed up that wall. Using his injury.
I think like with a clean run like that from Toby, I think he'll be on autopilot, not really thinking about his leg in a situation like that.
So Vedrik Leonardo versus Lee Sung Bing. This South Korean athlete spars at the crowd. He did well to get through that round. Can he continue? That would be a fairy tale come true if he can make it.
Both to the final. Had relatively similar times in the last round, but Leonardo will be the favorite. Looking at their personal best there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, it's close, but Vedrik for sure. Now Vedrik is turning it up. Turning the power at the top, 5.47 for Vedrik. He moves.
You can tell just how hard he's trying, and he's still hitting all the holds well, and hopefully he'll be psyched that he was able to represent well. Because the moves are so big, you have to jump to them anyway, which is inherently the faster way to do it. So the quicker you're moving, the closer the holds are to where you want to grab them anyway.
Yeah, it is a very dynamic sequences through this. And as we mentioned earlier, there are different ways to do different parts. The more you watch speed, the more you become familiar with them. It's an addictive sport, trust me. So, Rahamad versus...
out here.
Zinal. Oh, now we have...
Looks like a little technical incident with the foot pad. This happened in qualifiers. I think they'll just move right along and just...
Yeah, slight hesitation. That noise you heard was the sound of a full start, but obviously none of the athletes had begun yet. So the judge there, just standing up to check it, pulls the athletes back. They'll just have a little reset of those timing pads to make sure everything's in order before moving on. And this moment as an athlete, you just hyped yourself up, you're ready to go, then you've got to stop and refocus all over again.
Yeah, it's difficult for sure when something deviates just a little bit from the routine. I was talking about that quite a bit with my coach earlier, actually. You got to be ready for anything and just do your job, no matter what's going on around you.
Well, they do reset. These two teammates will be going through it together. And it is always hard, but now it doesn't matter what's gone before. It's all about this moment. Wait for the buzzer. Straight off, as you know, with a big slip early on. He's still on the wall, he's still climbing, but Rahamad will take it.
Though you're waiting the audible A, technically, that's kind of something that's pretty hard to avoid. So.
It's hard to tell, isn't it? But there you see both hands were still easily on the wall when he slipped.
Yeah, slip on that start. Yeah, you would think that just little deviation in the starting routine maybe got to him a little bit.
Well, we have seen a few.
Affect the climbing experience at all? Like, they're just tiny little measurements that may be off, and they've got all these special tools to certify a wall to decide whether or not a world record will be broken or not, but really the climbing experience for all the...
A little chat to herself there on the right, having a talk, calming herself down. Rajia on the left.
This will be a close race. These are two very talented athletes.
Oh, look at that PBs, neck and neck on the PB side. So I'm expecting John to be shouting for Emma here. He's allowed to be biased. I'm not. And Emma is off to a good start, though.
Wow, look at that perfect reaction time from
Yeah, Rajia slips down low, and Emma keeps it together to finish things off.
There we go.
So Emma will move on. Emma said to herself, it clearly worked.
Yeah. If you notice, 0.1, which is the minimum reaction time that you're allowed to have without it being considered a false start. So it's possible that maybe she started and was kind of waiting for the false start signal, and then it didn't come.
So at this point, it's not all over for these athletes. They will have another chance.
Yeah, so each of these athletes get to climb.
Make it into our finals. The athletes are prepared, waiting and ready. Ludovico bends down to chalk up. The auto-belay tucked behind him. And John, there are some different, both the athletes there have the auto-belay behind their shoulders. There's different methods.
Yeah, so if the auto-belay is between your arms, it sometimes gets in your way when you're trying to grab the holds.
All right, here we
go. A lot of the athletes like to just tuck it out of their way.
Karamel Katabin punches through this route, 5.29.
Had a little slip in the middle too, but just...
Karamel unleashed something there. Look at this middle section he had. Power through it. Smearing on the wall like it's a hold.
Yeah.
Of course, but there's so much technique that goes into being able to do what he just did. That wall, 5 degrees overhanging, there's no purchase on it when you are smearing, you're just using friction. So, next men's race, Vedrik Leonardo. This is Mohamed Malgo. Two teammates, only one can make it through. Who's going to pip the post? I'd say Vedrik is the favourite in this, but it's going to be very, very close. So they are both off to a start, but Vedrik is ahead at the moment fractionally, but he's getting, I just stops the clock at 5.38.
That was close. Yeah, he got a little bit.
Vedrik was ahead from about a quarter way up there, just laid down the power. Slaps up nicely. Beat
pretty similar backgrounds in climbing as well, and how they grew up and competed in the sport.
So Karamel Katabin and Vedrik Leonardo will fight it out for gold and silver.
That's a familiar pairing.
Will fight it out. First of all, Alexander Miroslav versus Alexander Kaluchka. That will be a harder one to call. So Ludovico from Team Italy, very experienced.
This final can be a little nerve-wracking because you're fighting for a podium spot. You've got a lot more to lose than just a gold or silver medal.
That's a very good point. If you lose in the final, at least you're getting a silver medal. For one of these athletes, they won't be on the podium. That means a lot. So Ludovico is off to a good start, but pauses.
A little pause. He's going to
Mohamed takes the bronze medal.
Yeah. If he is injured, that is impressive that he was able to climb so fast.
I think it might have just been a bump. He leaves the stage looking absolutely exhausted. He's
a little slip at the beginning, but he was able to pull it back, make those micro adjustments. And the rest of it was just flawless. And he is psyched.
Will be for the men. Karamel Katabin versus Vedrik Leonardo. I couldn't call this if you asked me to. This is going to be so close.
I'm sure they race all the time in practice, and it just goes back and forth.
Look at those PBs. Vedrik used to have the world record until today. Karamel now has the world records as of today.
Each of these guys are going to go fast right now.
Blink and you miss it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't make a cup of tea. Stay with us. This is it, the final for the men. Gold and silver on the line. Who will walk away with victory here tonight as we wait for the buzzers? Oh, and we have a full start.
Wow. Both of them false started.
Right, now look at the reaction times.
They are the same.
Right, this is going to be very interesting because this comes down now. This has got to go to the judges, and they both look up. I mean, to have, if that clock is right, they've full started at exactly the same moment.
Well, they're each gunning for it. They know that they have to go as fast as they can in order to win this race.
Right, well, both athletes having full started, so we go again. Waiting for the buzzer. This drama wasn't enough. And another full start. This time from Karamel. And Vedrik will no, Vedrik's come down as well.
Well, Vedrik did not false start, and so I think he just realized that. Oh, maybe he's going again. I'm guessing he gets a chance to set a world record.
So let's see what he can do here tonight.
Oh, little slips. Yeah. It's interesting. There's a very specific amount of energy and effort that you can put into each run. And so maybe you're trying really, really hard, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a faster
speed. IFSCCs.
Right after the start, you can see that little hesitation, and then that affected the next move. And
it's hardly a bad time, was it? 6.96. So the men's competition is done. It's just the women's to come. Alexandra Kluchka. Sorry, Alexandra Miroslav versus Emma Hunt for the finals. Emma Hunt already has a silver medal. Can she have a dream start to her year by getting the gold here? Alexandra so hyped up, so pumped for this race.
Alexandra knows Emma's fast, so she's going to have to push for it as well.
Yeah, no one can afford to relax here in this final race of this evening. And it's a great start for both women, but Emma's a little behind at the moment. Can she come back though? It's Alexandra at the moment, and she stops the clock in the lead. 6.72 and 7.23 for Emma Hunt. A silver medal for her. Alexandra, gold medal. Let's watch that again.
Different start sequences, and Emma was able to get a little bit of time back with her different sequence in the middle of the route there, but I don't think I have either. It's just crazy how different this sport is every time.
Rita just missing out on a podium place. All three raise their trophies up for the world to see.
I think it's some cool backpacks. I've never seen that as a prize from a competition like this.
Good prize. I quite like a backpack prize.
Oh yeah.
Hear the national anthem.
Please rise for the national anthem of Indonesia and stand for the flag on the screen.
Special moment for those guys.
That's a cool moment that they all get to share.